Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Mars, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Here we are on that break in between Christmas and New Year's. You guys know what that means. Some of you are working, some of you are not working at all. Let me say this for those who are at home and those who are at work. Listen, we hope that you had a positive and a family-filled, love-filled break for the holidays, whether you celebrate or not. That's not my point. This is a season of joy. So I hope everybody got a little portion of joy wherever you were doing, hanging out with family, hanging out with loved ones. You know, as I thought about this, like I said, and some of you are going, what is the location? This is not a green screen, brothers and sisters. I am coming to you on location from Albuquerque, New Mexico, home of my father, Clifford Moss Jr. I'm actually in his office, so I won't be in here long because he's going to be like, get out of my damn office. But look, here's the thing, brothers and sisters. I want everybody to take a breath. Just take a breath. I realized in flying over here, just the amount of anxiety that a lot of people are feeling about COVID, Omicron, all these types of things, and flying over, the double mask or triple mask. There's a thing whereby we can let our anxiety, if we're not careful, really, really design and drive how we're going to think about the future and how we handle things. One of the things I want to talk about today is not so much about COVID, but the reaction to COVID. COVID is not a new thing to us. We are like in COVID, whatever variation this is. We've had variations. Omicron, of course, is very contagious. But I think the thing is, brothers and sisters, there's been a marked attitudinal change in terms of how we face it, how we frame it. The whole idea about vaccinations and booster shots and things like that, that is the health component of it. But we're not necessarily talking about the intellectual capacity that we're bringing to these things as community members, families, and of course, politicians and leaders. Now, look, this show is framed and it is called, for a particular reason, Are the Inmates Running the Asylum? Are the inmates running the asylum? Now, some of you going, preach, the asylum. What is it? The asylum is a place historically where people went who had mental health issues. This is way before you had advanced medicine and things like that, psychologists, you're talking the early 14 years and things like that, where people went, but it wasn't just for mental health issues, it was also for drug issues and getting people off of heroin and cocaine and things like that. Just so you know, heroin and cocaine have been around a really, really long time. But my point, brothers and sisters, is that we continue to see mistakes. Now, I'm human like everybody else. We all make mistakes. My problem is when you make mistakes and you make mistakes the same way, clearly having new opportunities, clearly having new information, we tend to repeat the same mistakes. And literally, we find ourselves on a treadmill, for lack of a better word, trying to recapture some of the things that are out there, trying to really get back to a point, if you will, where we're operable and we're functional. So I know we're coming on, and I'm going to give you guys some examples of this throughout the day. Actually, I want to give a heartfelt condolences to the Islamic community of Columbus, Ohio. They lost a very beloved sheikh out there, Somalian sheikh, Brother Muhammad, found dead in his car in a junkyard. Now, this is what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters, that the man was missing on Wednesday. The community, not the police, the community found his body in this junkyard and literally said, this is a homicide. And literally said, this is who it is. But the police took quite a number of steps to say, well, no, we're not going to list it officially. Now, I understand that the police has a job to do and they have a protocol. But when you have people who willingly acknowledge that this is their man, this is from their community, this is from the culture, if you will, the Somali culture, you need to step back and understand that this thing has merit, that they went out and found their man before the police found him. And even go further, brothers and sisters, this recent assault on Muslim clerics, assault on Muslim advocacy organizations, it's leading to a point. And when I talk about the inmates taking over the asylum, what I am saying is the people, brothers and sisters, that are in a position who should not even be in a position of leadership, be in a position of financial or fiscal responsibility, we find themselves all of a sudden in those places. and their decisions are affecting us. Now, this is the shout out show. This is the non-Christian, not Christian, but this is a non-Christmas tradition right here. And what I mean is, brothers and sisters, I love the holidays because families get together. But it doesn't take away from the fact that in my heart of hearts, I understand that as we go into 2022, there's some things that are clearly off track as we head into the new year. We're going to be talking about them. I'm Preacher Moss. This is a shout out show reporting to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, from Clifford Moss Jr.'s house. Let's get the show rolling. The shout out show. And we are back. Okay, great. I appreciate everybody. Before we get into our subject matter, are the inmates running the asylum? Let me take a short time out to just give a shout out to all of the people in the Shout Out Show family, the Shout Out Show soldiers that have been supporting us since day one. That would be Ramadan, actually 2020, if you will, supporting us going all the way back to then. And you know what? The holidays, I hope all of you had a great time with your family or your significant other, or if you just got some rest, a little downtime to mentally decompress. I hope you took advantage of it. That's number one. Number two, I appreciate you being on the show because you didn't have to be here. You had a whole other place to be. Some of you are off work, but you tune in. I want to give a shout out to Master Warden Muhammad, the brothers down there, Brother Elijah, Imam Farouk, Imam Abdullah Rashid, Brother James, Brother John, and also got a big shout out to my main man, Brother Vince. What's going on? I hope you guys doing well. And I want to give a shout out. Brothers, sisters, I was having a good, December 25th. I had to work, having a good day, had a great fundraiser, was a part of. Shout out to Indian Association, Indian American Muslim Council. Shout out to them. But I had a great, and later in the day, I got a text. It was from Sister Reed. Sister Reed, thank you so much for the food that you sent. It was amazing, brothers and sisters. I've never had halal turkey that was just that moist. She was like, "You need the gravy." I'm gonna tell you something, Reed. I didn't even get to the gravy. The chicken, the turkey's gone. I can bring your gravy back. I don't like to waste gravy, but it's gone. It didn't. I know it had intentions to go on the gravy, but it's too close to the macaroni and cheese and the stuffing, and things happen. All right, so shout out and shout out to Reed's parents and her stepmom that came out. Shout out to Juan and my buddy Derek. Okay, let's go and get the shout outs going. Shout out to my main man Salim who gave me a call too. Salim, kind words, brother Salim. I know I was a little hard on Mr. Roman Iqbal, the rat from CARE. Ohio. I know I gave him a hard time, but thank you for your kind comments, my brother. Appreciate you. All right, who we got? We got Sister Reed. Say hello, family. That's right, Sister Reed. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. We got my brother JT. What's going on, JT? I'm sorry. Government name Johnny L. Thomas. To me, always JT. What's going on? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you got some good presents too, brother. I know you boy, you don't have to get a paper route for all them grandkids, but I appreciate you, and I know they appreciate you too. All right, happy holidays to you and your family. Next up, my main man, Altaf Rashid, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, always on time. What's going on? A Canadian ambassador to the show. Altaf, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, man. Tell us what you got for Christmas, Altaf. No, I'm just kidding. As always, brother, we appreciate your presence on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Next up, Bilal Salahuddin. What's going on, brother? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What's going on, man? Shout out from the Salahuddin family. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on. And I assume that you shouting out for Sister Sonia as well. Now, my dad he's watching this show. He ain't cut off his phone. He ain't going to be able to cut it off. Bud Bilal, good to see you on the show, man. Much love. Hey, we got my big brother, Bright BTC Funding Projects. What's going on? Peace and love, little bro, and the SOS family. What's up, brother? Brother Richard Sclafford, better known as Big Brother Rick. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I got your text. I just want to shout out, let you know that I'm not getting my texts aren't getting through on Android. So I did respond, but I have to try and get that worked out. So I always have you and the family in my highest regards as always. So peace and blessings, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Better watch that Bitcoin. I'm sending you an article I want you to think about too. And we got Mama Son. What's going on? She's talking about hello SOS family. I gotta say, Mama Son, I'm glad you made it. I know you just got in. You and your sidekick, Miss Eleanor. Shout out to Miss Eleanor. I got a letter from district government saying, please stop wearing out their Metro cab. They said they said stop wearing out the Metro cab. Y'all are killing the Metro cab. And they found all kind of Red Lobster boxes in the Metro cab. That's how they knew it was you two. All right, I'm messing with you. Next up, and of course, what's the show? Well, like my salon off the tour by the Captain Sister Satana. What's the show without a consulting producer who makes this thing possible for me to use my hands and turn and do things, do things like that because, she's in control of, she's taking care of control. And so, Sister Satana, we're going to start calling you Satana CNN, making sure that everything works appropriately. We appreciate you, Sister Satana. So let's hop to it, brothers and sisters. Are the inmates running the asylum? Picture this. This is one of my worst nightmares I've ever had, but you go into a school. You are a teacher. You go into a really, really tough school. You go to the office. You get all your mail and you get all your grade books and you go to your classroom. You sit down at a desk. It's your desk. But when you turn around, you realize that all the other desks in front of the classroom, yours is in the back. The students are the teachers, and now the teacher is the student. And they have to come up with a curriculum for you. They're telling you about your life. They're telling an adult, Mr. Moss, you need to do X, Y, and Z for your career and your family and all of those things. And you're thinking, you're in the 5th grade. You're in the 6th grade. And they go, we don't care. Somebody has given us the authority to tell you as 5th and 6th graders in this edifice of education that we know best. Scary, isn't it? Scary. I know many of you have been in a situation or job where you've had a supervisor who didn't know his blank from his elbow. You say, is that your blank? You go, no, it's my elbow. See what I'm saying? And the point of the matter is these people operate, if you will, with a certain amount, I don't want to say impunity, but definitely immunity, meaning that the decisions that they're making are poor decisions. And the decisions that they're making, not just poor decisions, but somehow they're beyond reproach. We can't say that this is wrong. We can't we can't audible and say, no, don't do it this way. We can't be as vocal as we need to because all of a sudden, the people who have absolutely no control, who've demonstrated low morals, who've demonstrated low talent, who've demonstrated low skill, who've demonstrated low commitment, somehow are in supervisory roles, somehow are in leadership positions, and we find ourselves being led by them. Case in point, you guessed it, COVID-19. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that COVID-19 wouldn't have taken lives. That's not true. But when you look at the statistical data that I put out, and you can go get it yourself, COVID-19 started in China, Wuhan. No one actually goes and looks at the number of the people, the amount of people who died in Wuhan. We are over 800,000 people dead directly attributed to COVID-19. Do you know how many people died in Wuhan? That's right. Less than 40,000. Less than 40,000. So you say to yourself, it just can't be that the medical community broke down. It just can't be that we didn't have supplies. It just can't be that we didn't have intel to say this thing's gonna happen. They've been running these models for years, brothers and sisters, that a catastrophic something can happen with viruses. We have preemptive ideas about this. We have vaccines we were using in this situation that were being applicable to the Ebola virus. We knew that these things could happen. But my question is, how can the place where it started have less than 40,000 dead? And here we are in the United States, still struggling, by the way, and have over 800,000 people dead. Well, it goes to the point where, yes, the question is, are there inmates running the asylum? The answer is yes. I don't have to look much further, brothers and sisters. We are heading into a year after a groundbreaking insurrection. Hear me now. A groundbreaking insurrection that happened January 6, 2020. January the 4th, we talked about it on the ShOUT show. What was the name of the show? Smells Like a Coup, right? We talked about these things. And even in a year, brothers and sisters, we still see exactly what I'm talking about. Because the thing I'm going to bring in here, and feel free to jump in. This is one of those open forums. The thing that worries me the most is that visually we lose track of things. That we had an insurrection a little over a year ago, and we have people who are being successful in blocking the tools to investigate the actual insurrection. It doesn't happen anywhere else. Like it doesn't happen anywhere else. Like if you know criminal law, you know that criminal law has a particular format, a particular status quo, that things are established, evidence is produced, you go to trial, you take a plea. That's criminal justice in America. Well, how is it we have people who can, like Mark Meadows, who can offer up information and then want immunity afterwards? You can't do that, Mark. You're a snitch. You can't unsnitch. And here we have a president who clearly violated every constitutional law. He broke every branch on the tree of justice. This guy is still in the situation believing that I'm right. We're still talking about the steal. We're looking at information, brothers and sisters, whereby we know, and I'm not alone on this, whereby we know that people tried to physically change the results of a 2020 election. The thing that kills me is those people are still in power. Those people still held on to their jobs. Let me tell you something. There was a guy in Washington, D.C., one of the biggest drug dealers of all time, Rayful Edmonds. Okay? A whole lot of people know Rayful Edmonds. You know, he was all around. But when Rayful Edmonds got popped on a RICO, I had a lot of respect for the feds and district police. Because anybody and everybody who was involved in this criminal empire got snatched out. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was left to ponder. You did it, you were indicted. How many indictments have we really had with this insurrection? And here's the point I'm going to add. Now we're going to do a little forecasting. If these things are not corrected, heading to the 2022 primary, the inmates are going to be able to open up the floodgates for more inmates. We're talking about the absence and the void of common sense, fairness, equity, justice. We are not talking about constitutional presence. We are talking about people who avoid constitutional presence, who would look at a court and not go in and plead their case to the court because what? They feel like they don't have to. The court has no value to these people. So as you begin to look at it and address it a little bit more, I always talk about education a lot. Even in education, there were people, brothers and sisters, who had no business, not about being an educator in the classroom, they had no business around children. No business around children. They patently did not like children. I'm talking about vice principals and principals who are supposed to be enforcing and developing and implementing curriculum for these kids. They didn't like children. And you know what? They didn't like people who like children, which means that the teachers that they were leading, they had open disdain for the teachers. And I'm not talking about being a special ed teacher. I'm talking about good quality teachers who came there because they cared. They gave a damn. Having to be under the boot and the auspices of people who didn't care about the children, their parents, the community. Sound familiar? Even now, brothers and sisters, as we sit here, we head into 2022. What's really changed? What's really changed? I quote directly often Imam Wafdi Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, if you don't like the way people treat you, change the way you think. We have a situation now. He said, change the way you think. But what happens when you are people who don't think? And the whole idea, I mean, have you ever watched like old prison movies? You know, there's a riot and the inmates take over the prison. And they want all these demands, and they don't understand that it's just a matter of time before the prison is going to revert back. You know, you're not going to be able to stay there and remodel and renovate. The prison is going to be a prison. You're not going to be able to take all the inmates and run out of there. That's not going to happen. Yet, and fully, we still have a situation, scenario where people believe that somehow, some way, they're going to be able to do it. Give you a case in point today. I'm out at the grocery store. Minding my business. Me and my pops are going to do some stuff, you know. It's a little tight turn, and the cart was right there. I don't know, you know, my father put his cart up, and the guy was kind of standing there reaching back for cookies. He moved up, and it was a little tight. It was a little tight there, you know. And the guy was sitting up here and fumbling with his card, paying. We're just standing here. The guy just looks at me and he goes, do you have a problem with me? I'm like, how can I have a problem with you if I don't know you? Well, you all up on me. No. And I clearly said, he goes, you're looking at my card. Who's going to look at your card? I can look at the items in your basket and tell you ain't got a whole lot of money. You getting retread Christmas candy and cupcakes. You got soap. You got floss. And you got an orange. I mean, I'm not a criminal, but I wouldn't rob you because I think you already been robbed. But he stood there and said to me, he goes, you know, he bucked up. And he goes, well, blah, 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 blah. And he said something to me, you're up on me. And I said, hey, man, that's your opinion. He goes, yeah, that's my opinion. I said, well, here's the deal, because you got to bring logic to it. If you are upset with me being too close to you, the proximity is an issue, you finish your transaction, you could go. So there, of course, some lovely Muslim and Christian words exchanged. But my point is, what made that man say that? What gave him the audacity? What gave him the strength to say that? Because, you know, I'm a Muslim. You know, I'm going to try and be a peaceful dude. But if I can take it to your chin, I'm going to take it to your chin. That's the way we do. That's the way it's always been. But I watched this guy, and he wasn't much bigger than me with a little beard coming underneath the mask and all of that. And I'm like, what you need to say is you looked at this thing and you put your card in, and I noticed it didn't work the first time. And you had to pull out another card and pull it in, and you hoped that it would stand there. And somehow, in between you not having the right amount of money to get the items the first time, you had to go to the second card. Somehow, I have infringed on the fact that you broke. No. That is a case of the inmates trying to run the asylum. I don't know about you. I don't listen to people who never have money give me financial advice. I don't go to dentists who are missing teeth. I don't get marriage advice from men who've been married over 6 times. See what I'm saying? My point here, brothers and sisters, is this is becoming a pattern. It's becoming a pattern. I don't know what happened in Columbus, Ohio. I don't know. I hope they catch the perpetrator, but I don't know. I don't know what happened in San Antonio with the disappearance of the little 3-year-old Muslim girl. I don't know. But as you start to put the breadcrumbs together, there is something that is bugging me. That we have acts not necessarily of aggression, but we have acts that allow for people to be even more aggressive. So my word to you, brothers and sisters, is let's begin to look a little bit closer. Let's look a little bit closer. When you look a bit closer, look a little bit back because you don't have to go back too far to understand these things. Whether it's a church in South Carolina, whether it's insurrection, I want everybody to understand that these things do have meaning, they have weight. And look at the reaction of people. Please, look at the reaction of people. All right, let's take some comments before we get out of here. Satana, what we got? Satana, you coming on today? Satana don't want to come on. Satana, you coming on?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I say this thing, I say it. This is actually a bit I wrote years ago on the Inmates Running the Asylum. I used to think I'm hard on people, right? I grew up a certain way. I had a certain discipline. I used to think that, and then I softened that stance because maybe it's just me being hard. And then I'm like, this person really doesn't know what they're doing in front of a whole lot of other people.
Yeah.
It's like a friend of mine years ago was like, yeah, I drive. And I was like, wait a minute. He got behind the wheel. He had keys. He had a car and a couple of us in the car. And I said, cut the car off. He goes, yeah. I go, do you have a license? He said, no, but I still drive. No. No. But it seems to be a little bit more commonplace that people are trying to do things they have absolutely no business doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's been in the last few years since since COVID has opened up, or has it? Do you feel it's been a situation for quite some time?
It's been a situation for quite some time.
Okay.
I think COVID exacerbated it.
Yes, yeah.
I put it like this:
Mm-hmm.
2016. I look at political appointments, and I saw people who were put into jobs. They had no practical experience to do those jobs. Betsy DeVos was doing education. I'm like, you ain't cooked a cupcake at a PTA. But how do you get in that position?
Right. Ben Carson.
Yeah. I can see if he was a Surgeon General, but he's in charge of housing. What are you doing, Ben?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, Ben, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, we had secretaries of state who didn't know what they were doing. We had Tillerson. We had the boy from Texas, just dumbing in doorknobs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in position representing the interests of the United States. I'm like, this is
and you're right. In that situation, especially, it was such an international international issue that it was not just kept inside the U.S. Like everyone at that point, everyone just thought that America was had gone to the dogs. Because it was like, what is it like? We're supposed to be in the forefront, right? We were supposed to be like the leaders, and I think that during that period, we just were kind of taken for a joke.
But we look at the president.
Mm-hmm.
Was he qualified to be a president? I'm like, dude, every company you ran in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You have a litany of he had lawsuits still applicable to him running for president and as a president.
Yeah.
He had tax problems and legal problems. He still gets elected. But even he was surprised. You got like that means when people look at the information going back, he didn't expect to be president. He thought he was going to lose. This was his idea to get another TV show.
Yeah, yeah.
After The Apprentice. Yeah. And he ran it like The Apprentice.
He did.
I was like, man, I was waiting for him to appoint Dennis Rodman as an ambassador to North Korea. That's how close
That is
this thing
possible, right?
was.
I mean,
I was like, yeah,
he's friends
everything,
with
anything is
Kim
possible.
Jong Un, right? Dennis Rodman and Kim Jong Un are buds, right? They're best friends. Like, so that is quite possible.
But
Um,
I think the thing that bothered me is a lot. We just kind of it was just overwhelming. Like it was
mhm,
just bad appointment after bad appointment. It was like,
yeah.
um, I mean, it is a microcosm what we deal with. It's like when you go to a restaurant, you know, you want a waiter who understands how to do customer service, or you're on the
Mhm.
phone. If you're doing customer service, you don't like customers, you shouldn't be doing customer service.
Right, right, right.
But
And
there's these allowances, and I thought the insurrection was the worst because I'm sitting here going, I thought it looked when I turned on TV, it looked like a white version of Planet of the Apes, the first one. And I'm like, look
it
at
was
these.
unbelievable, very
I'm like, look at
unbelievable.
these crackers climbing these walls. I said, this is terrible. Then I'm like,
Hmm.
oh snap, is real. Um,
And
but I mean,
but
this it was just the primacy of it all. It's
mhm,
like the primacy of it all.
mhm.
Like my mother said, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything. Like guy said something to me one time. He's like, um, he was like, yo, your folks need to, and I was like, really? He said, yeah. And I didn't say anything. I was like, I'm gonna go because I'm gonna mess around and say something that I really really mean, and it's gonna be hurtful. It's gonna leave a scar.
Mhm.
But I think at these point in time, I think we need to get back to leaving scars because it's like people are just walking. They're just walking around, man, and it's like they're bumping into one another. They're populating the space. So the people
Yeah.
that do have common sense and logic, you can't hear them. You can yell as much as you want to. If one person yells, but they got to yell against 20 other people who have a different opinion or different skill level, different commitment to things, it just doesn't work.
Well, I think that population is also far and few. I mean, the amount of people who have logic, who are looking at logic, or who are actually, um, you know, instilling logic. That's far. That's few, right?
But
You
logic,
have different.
yeah,
What?
yeah, but logic takes time. That's what Logic
Logic
and wisdom take time.
takes
Stupidity is instant.
it is instant, and that's what we're looking at. We're looking at this kind of instant, Instagram, right? This social media, everything is instant. Everything is like, okay, you can get money this quickly, right? You can do this, and you can get money very quickly. So everything is very
I'm
instant. No one goes through the process of really understanding how things work right now, right? And so it's
mhm.
just this very instant society that we have. It's just like, okay, click one button and you'll become a millionaire, right? You can have the lap of luxury, right? And and a lot of these things, like a lot, and it's interesting if you look at a lot of the back end of a lot of these Instagram, these influencers, when they're like getting on planes and doing all of this is fake, right? All of it's fake, right? Most of them don't even have this, but everyone thinks it's very instant, and everyone tries to get this instant gratification without understanding how this works, right? Understanding how
Mm.
how things work, and that's
Well, I
that's
mean,
where it's absence of logic. So
Harry Weber said this, and I'm gonna wrap up. I don't want to go over too long. Harry Weber used to joke about the early Instagram thing. He used to call it Instadam. We used to call it Instadam. And he said the idea of the proliferation of people who actually think they're social influencers through using technology, he said, is the worst thing in the world. He says, if you can find a person who gets on and says, you could be a millionaire, click this button. He says, that person's not a millionaire. His science is he'll get 1 million people to click that button once.
yeah, once
And that's
exactly.
where we
Yep,
are. So let's
yep.
go ahead and get to the wrap
Exactly.
up. I'm gonna get everybody out of here. Yeah, get out of my dad's office. So, brothers and sisters, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to the Shout Out Show. I've decided we're not going to do a New Year's show. You go out and enjoy yourself. We're going to go Monday through Thursday. I just want to put that out. No New Year's show. We're going to start out the New Year strong, and hopefully you'll be with us. I know you'll be with us, inshallah. So we want to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. If you have any interest in making your money work for you. And remember, if you work for $1, you got to get that dollar to work for you. Go to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Call 202-508-3780. Again, that is 202-508-3780. And for the new year, if you're thinking about getting a quality Islamic graduate education, look no further. Go to Bayan Islamic Graduate School in Claremont, California, brothers and sisters. Go to bayanonline.org, and that's bayanonline.org, offering premium programs in Islamic education, Islamic leadership and studies, and the Master of Divinity program with a focus on Muslim chaplaincy. Check it out, Bayan Online. And we want to throw this out here because it is getting bad. Yes, brothers and sisters, United just canceled my flight, so I might have to stay at my dad's house just a little longer. Um, but on the serious side, we want everybody to take care of themselves. So we're gonna give a shout out to Convenient Urgent Care, who's very busy right now. Brother Jazz is swamped. Convenient Urgent Care in the city of Houston with 3 locations: Pasadena, Cypress, and Houston on Parker Road. Check them out, convenienturgent.com. Again, that's convenienturgent.com. Listen, you guys have been great. Appreciate you. Shout out from Albuquerque, New Mexico. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Preacher Moss. This is the Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Well, team, we've come to the end of yet another show. And I have to say, I had a good time, and I hope that you had a good time as well. Listen, at this part of the show, we have no more show. I could literally sing a song saying we have no more show. However, to spare all of us that embarrassment and chaos, I'm just going to say, please join us tomorrow here on the Shout Out Show, Monday through Thursdays, and every first Saturday, we do our Saturday Spotlight. Here we are again, 5 to 5:30 on the Central Time. And of course, we're going to do our rebroadcast at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock p.m. And of course, that would be 6 o'clock on the West Coast. So, time for you to go, because it's time for me to go. I think I will do that song. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you for coming to the show. That's all the lyrics I wrote. But you get the idea. See you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum. Shout out.